Imagine sitting down and reading a document that starts with this very peaceful, traditional Buddhist poem.
Right, sets a nice mood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But then you turn the page, and it suddenly morphs into what looks like an Excel spreadsheet detailing exactly 518 mid-level corporate managers.
Which is quite the pivot.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then it ends with this severe warning about antimatter in the space-time continuum.
Naturally.
Right. Usually when you sit down with the text, your brain instantly knows how to process it. I mean, a corporate memo means you look for action items.
Yeah, and a spiritual text means you're looking for metaphor or moral guidance.
Exactly. And sci-fi just means you suspend your disbelief.
It relies entirely on cognitive shortcuts. The genre is supposed to tell our brain how to categorize the information so we don't get completely overwhelmed.
Right.
But when a text shatters those boundaries, it literally forces you to use vastly different analytical tools at the exact same time. Like, you are evaluating logistical pragmatism and cosmic metaphysics in the same paragraph.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking a highly unusual, genuinely genre-defying document from October 2004.
Yeah, this one is fascinating.
It really is. It's called The Invitation of Lifechanyuan. And it was authored by a man named Xu Feng, who actually refers to himself in the text as the deiform Buddha.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, the word deiform essentially means, possessing the form or the nature of a deity. So right from the title page, the author is claiming this status that bridges human existence and the divine realm.
And he's setting the premise that this organization, Lifechanyuan, is the definitive path for following an entity that they refer to as the greatest creator.
The greatest creator.
Right. And the text outlines this grand mission to safeguard life, cultivate enlightened individuals, which it calls saints, and ultimately guide human life toward what it describes as high-level spaces.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even look at how this organization operates, we really have to look at who they claim to follow. Sui Fang doesn't just claim to represent a single, isolated spiritual tradition. He presents himself as the devout disciple of a roster of figures that, frankly, feels like a spiritual Avengers crossover event.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Right. He specifically lists Jesus the Christ, Buddha Sakyamuni, Prophet Muhammad, and the Celestial Lao Tzu.
All of them.
All of them in one group. And when I first read that, my immediate thought was, well, this is a recipe for a theological civil war.
Oh, for sure.
You cannot just mash those deeply ingrained dogmas together.
Right.
I mean, how does a single movement even attempt to bypass thousands of years of religious conflict to reconcile those frameworks?
What's fascinating here is that they do it by not trying to reconcile their granular differences at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Instead of arguing over the tiny details of dogma, Xu Feng attempts to bypass the conflict entirely by establishing this massive philosophical umbrella.
Okay, an umbrella.
Right. The text explicitly states his goal is the implementation of a concept where all religions will return to the origin.
Huh. Return to the origin.
Exactly. He isn't arguing that one tradition was historically right while all the others were wrong. He is attempting to synthesize global spiritual traditions into a single, unified theory. It is basically an attempt at a theological grand unified theory.
So it's the idea that, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, and Taoism are all just different rivers flowing down the exact same mountain.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
But you don't undertake a massive philosophical synthesis like that just for the intellectual exercise. I mean, there has to be a catalyst.
Oh, there is. And the catalyst provided in the text is deeply urgent.
Okay.
It states that the purpose of this unification is redeeming living beings and, to quote the text directly, gathering crops.
Gathering crops.
Yeah.
That phrase completely stops you in your tracks. It carries this striking, slightly ominous weight to it.
It really does.
I mean, when you hear about gathering crops in a spiritual context, it immediately implies a harvest.
Right.
It implies an end to the growing season.
Absolutely. Agricultural metaphors are a staple in historical end times or, new era literature for a very specific reason.
They convey a deadline.
Exactly. They convey a natural, inevitable culmination of time. The implication here is that humanity has been growing and maturing through all these different religious phases for millennia, and now the season is changing.
The harvest is here.
Right. It's time for a spiritual harvest, where the enlightened souls, the saints, are gathered up before winter comes, so to speak.
Wow. But if the goal is to gather these crops and synthesize every major world religion, you can't just leave the doors open to absolute chaos.
No, you definitely can't.
You have to establish boundaries on who is actually allowed into the field.
Yeah.
And this is where the document takes a really fascinating psychological turn.
Oh, with the game metaphor.
Yes. To start assembling this ultimate team of enlightened saints, the text makes a point to refer to this entire pursuit as a game.
Calling a path to ultimate cosmic salvation a game is an incredibly strategic linguistic choice.
It really is.
Because, when people think of spiritual redemption, they anticipate heavy, somber, demanding language.
Rules and rituals.
Exactly. By framing it as a game, the author lowers the psychological barrier to entry. It completely disarms the reader.
Right. It sounds voluntary, engaging.
Yeah, and low stakes.
It makes you curious rather than intimidated. And he explicitly says that any saint in the mortal world can come play this game.
Anyone.
The text actually states it does not matter your race, nationality, religious belief, political party, social status, education, age, or gender.
It's very broad.
If you are willing to follow the greatest creator, you have a seat at the table. It is aggressively, universally welcoming.
Until you reach the hard boundary.
Right. Yes. The massive, highly specific caveat. Because there's an explicit ban on certain professions.
And this is where it gets interesting.
The document states, and I'm quoting here, the only groups of people we will not accept are the civil servants in government agencies, military personnel, and all kinds of armed men.
A very specific list.
Very. Now, reading this in 2004 or today, you have to pause and push back on that logic.
Right.
I mean, if this group is truly a universal, barrier-free game for all humanity, why the sudden hard line against anyone with a government badge or a uniform?
It does seem contradictory.
Right. Historically, when a charismatic leader gathers a group of devoted followers and explicitly bans the military and the state from joining, alarm bells go off.
Oh, absolutely.
That usually signals an anti-government stance or, the quiet beginnings of a rebellion.
That is the assumption most authorities would make. But Xu Feng actually anticipates that exact suspicion and engineers a structural bypass.
Really? So it's not a rebellion?
No, the exclusion of government and military personnel isn't rooted in ideological hostility. In fact, the text goes out of its way to clarify that it's not because these groups lack good people or potential saints.
Oh, okay. So why ban them?
The ban is rooted in a hyper-cautious pragmatism. They are desperate to avoid any perception of being a state threat.
Ah, it's essentially a corporate liability waiver, but for a spiritual movement.
That is a highly accurate analogy.
Wow.
If even one member of a new spiritual group commits an act of violence or attempts to subvert state power, governments tend to crush the entire organization.
Yeah, it makes sense.
By banning anyone who holds state power or carries a weapon, Lifechanyuan is building a structural firewall against state suspicion. The text explicitly says they worry about causing confusion or trouble for global governments.
They just want to stay out of the way.
Exactly. They want to avoid threatening the lives and property of citizens in any way.
And they back that up with a very rigid policy of non-participation. Like, they promise never to involve themselves in demonstrations, sit-in protests, strikes, armed insurrections, terrorist violence, or wars.
Complete pacifism.
Right. They vow not to plan them, organize them, or even offer behind-the-scenes support. It is a pledge of absolute, uncompromising geopolitical neutrality.
Which is paired with an offer of radical transparency.
Oh, we'll write the open door policy.
Yeah. The document insists that, aside from basic personal privacy, all of Lifechanyuan's speeches, opinions, organizational structures, and activity arrangements will be completely open to the public.
They don't just tolerate observation.
No, they invite it.
Yeah.
The stated reason for this transparency is to facilitate the government and the public in criticizing, reporting, and disclosing their activities.
They're handing the microscope over and saying, please examine us. We have absolutely nothing to hide.
Exactly.
There's even a section where the author pleads directly with world leaders. He specifically names chairmen, presidents, and party leaders, asking them to show mercy to Lifechanyuan.
It's very direct.
He suggests that if they don't fully understand the group's motives yet, they should just keep quiet and sit on the rail and watch.
Just observe.
It's a survival tactic. Diffuse the institutional anxiety before it can even form.
It reveals a very sophisticated understanding of how newer religious movements typically fail, because they usually collapse because they provoke the state. Lifechanyuan is attempting to innovate a path that avoids that specific historical trap entirely.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Okay.
Because once you survive the scrutiny of global governments, you actually have to run the organization. You have to explain what these gathered crops are actually going to do.
The day-to-day operations.
Right. And this is where the document sharply pivots. Like, we leave behind the poetic, multi-faith mysticism and the geopolitical liability waivers, and we suddenly drop into a structure so rigid and numerical, it feels bizarre.
It really is a shift.
It is literally a global business plan for achieving enlightenment.
The jarring transition is what makes it so unique.
Yeah.
You move directly from discussing the celestial Lao Tzu and global peace into this fastidious breakdown of management tiers, branch limits, and exact staffing quotas.
The text divides Lifechanyuan into two distinct layers. There's the management layer and the soul layer.
Let's start with the management layer.
Yeah, let's look at the management layer first, because it gives you a sense of the sheer physical scale they are aiming for. They outline a plan to set up exactly 256 branches throughout the world.
Not around 250.
No, not a few hundred, not as many as we can open, exactly 256.
And this global network is designed to be run by a general director, branch directors for each of those 256 locations, and a highly specific number of director assistants.
And the explanation for those assistants contains what has to be the strangest administrative update ever included in a spiritual manifesto.
Oh, the renaming thing.
Yes. The text notes that in order to broadly invite people of ability, the original 512 academicians were renamed as director assistants.
Just a quick corporate rebrand.
Right. And then they added 6 general director assistants, bringing the grand total to exactly 518. I mean, it reads like the minutes from a quarterly board meeting.
It really does ground the esoteric claims in the mundane reality of administration. But the soul layer is where this numerical obsession truly reveals its underlying philosophy.
Because the management layer is just the physical infrastructure.
Exactly. The soul layer is the spiritual core, and its population is explicitly capped at 255 saints.
And their job description is immense. Like, they aren't pushing paperwork. They are responsible for exploring the secrets of the universe, time, space, and life itself, blending outstanding cultural traditions with the latest scientific developments.
It's a very heavy workload.
Very. And the hierarchy of these 255 saints is broken down with a mathematical precision that demands analysis. Let me just read the exact titles and numbers from the text.
Go for it.
At the pinnacle, you have the deiform Buddha, the author.
Okay.
Directly below him are 2 yin-yang saints, then 4 kings, then 8 rabbis,
See the pattern.
16 Buddhistic masters, 32 world directors, 64 emissaries, and finally, 128 Taoists.
So if you look at that progression, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, it is entirely built on exponential powers of 2.
Wow.
It is binary mathematics. When you sum those tiers up, you get 254.
And then you add the deiform Buddha at the top.
And you hit the exact cap of 255 saints in the soul layer.
That is wild. Even the number of global branches, 256, is a power of 2.
Yep.
The original number of academicians before the administrative tweak, 512, is another power of 2. It's as if a computer programmer was tasked with designing a religious hierarchy.
Pretty much.
But why do this? I mean, why take these incredibly diverse, organic spiritual traditions, rabbis, Taoists, Buddhistic masters, and force them into an algorithm?
Well, by wrapping mystical, unfalsifiable spiritual claims in the rigid, objective language of mathematics, the author creates a really powerful illusion of scientific validity.
Oh, I see.
It makes faith feel like physics.
Faith is physics. That's good.
When a reader sees a structure mirroring the fractal organization found in computer science or, biology, it implies that the spiritual evolution being promised operates on predictable, immutable laws.
Right, if you can trust the flawless math of the 256 branches.
You might subconsciously transfer that trust to the movement's massive, unprovable cosmic claims.
It is the ultimate human coping mechanism. We are fundamentally terrified of the infinite, so we try to exert control over it by organizing it.
Yes, exactly.
We put the divine into a neatly labeled spreadsheet with exactly 32 world directors and 8 rabbis. It makes the unknown feel manageable.
But just as you get comfortable with this earthly bureaucracy,
The document pulls the rug out from under you again.
because the math is merely the launch sequence.
Exactly. The final section of this invitation abandons Earth entirely and pivots into astrophysics and science fiction.
The tone shifts completely.
We go from discussing 518 director assistants to traveling the vast space-time continuum.
It's quite the leap.
The text explicitly references a negative universe constituted by non-material world, describing it as supernatural and superb. We're suddenly talking about antimatter worlds in the middle of a 2004 spiritual manifesto.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this shift into astrophysics isn't just for dramatic effect.
Okay, what's the purpose?
Well, in the early 2000s, concepts like quantum physics, string theory, and antimatter were heavily popularized in the public consciousness.
True, they were everywhere.
Right. By co-opting the language of the space-time continuum and non-material worlds, Xu Feng is attempting to upgrade ancient spirituality for the 21st century.
Modernizing it.
Yes, it acts as a defense mechanism against secularism. The subtext is clear here. Modern science isn't replacing our faith.
Modern science is simply discovering the mechanics of the universe that our faith has understood all along.
Exactly.
It is a way of ensuring that theology never feels obsolete. And the ultimate destination for all this cosmic travel isn't just a vague notion of heaven.
No, it's very specific.
It is a highly specific location called the Elysium Celestial Islands continent.
Quite a name.
And the author paints this breathtaking visual, writing that messengers of God and Buddha are waving from the hundreds of light years. I mean, it's incredibly cinematic.
It creates a sweeping sense of cosmic connection. But there is a psychological trade-off here.
What do you mean?
To make that distant galactic future feel profoundly important, the text has to actively minimize the significance of our current earthly reality.
Oh, right. It really does zoom out to make human existence feel tiny.
Very tiny.
The document urges its followers, saying, do not lose your eternal life for a transient human life.
Yeah, that's heavy.
It frames all of our earthly struggles, our relationships, and our societal problems as fleeting, almost insignificant footnotes compared to the galactic journey ahead.
And the final promise delivered in the invitation brings this perspective shift into sharp focus.
Oh, yes.
The text claims that once followers fully consummate their merits and reach this higher state, they will be able to look back and laugh at the little earth.
Laugh at the little earth. I mean, think about the psychological journey the reader has just been taken on.
It's a roller coaster.
You spend the first half of the document painstakingly worrying about the opinions of global governments, banning civil servants.
Right, avoiding state trouble.
And debating the exact title of 518 mid-level administrative assistants.
The bureaucracy.
But by the end, you are floating hundreds of light years away in a negative universe, looking back at our entire planet at a tiny, insignificant speck worthy of nothing more than a chuckle.
It highlights that the intricate bureaucracy of the management layer and the soul layer is purely temporary.
Oh, I see.
The 256 earthly branches are just the scaffolding. Once the rocket leaves the atmosphere, the launch pad is left behind.
The true destination is the conquest of space, time, and mortality itself.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean when we synthesize the pieces? When you step back and view the invitation of Lifechanyuan in its entirety, you are looking at a document of phenomenal duality.
That's the perfect word for it, duality.
On one side, it is a movement steeped in ancient, multi-faith mysticism, attempting to unify the globe's religious heritage to launch humanity toward the Elysium Celestial Islands continent.
Right. And on the other side, it operates with the cold exactness of a corporate franchise.
A very strict franchise.
It maps out its spiritual hierarchy with the binary precision of a software program and engineers a strict policy of geopolitical neutrality to ensure it doesn't get crushed by the state before the harvest is complete.
It is a truly remarkable attempt to build a bridge between the infinite cosmos and the mundane reality of administrative management.
Truly unique.
But before we wrap up this deep dive into the source material, there's a subtle contradiction tucked away in the text that you have to ask yourself about.
Let's hear it.
Amidst all the mathematically perfect rules and vast cosmic promises, the document outlines a core operating policy for its members.
Right, the adaptability clause.
It says, and I quote, "Immediately rectify mistake once it is found, and keep the main but change the others according to the situation."
Change according to the situation.
Change according to the situation. For an organization that has mapped out the exact, unchangeable blueprint of its cosmic soul layer, dictating that there must be exactly 128 Taoists, 64 emissaries, and 8 rabbis, and aims for a rigid, mathematically flawless 256 global branches.
Yeah, how does that work?
How does a supposedly absolute, mathematically ordered cosmic truth adapt and change according to the situation when it inevitably collides with the unpredictable, messy chaos of the real world?
That is the ultimate friction, isn't it? The friction between a perfect algorithmic theory and an imperfect, deeply human reality.
Exactly. When you try to build a flawless, spreadsheet-ready structure for the human soul, what happens when human nature simply refuses to fit inside those perfectly labeled buckets?
The buckets break.
They break.
Mm.
It brings us right back to the cognitive whiplash we discussed at the very beginning. You can try to categorize the universe, the divine, and human behavior into neat little mathematical genres, but eventually, the universe is going to break your buckets. Keep
Right.
wondering, keep questioning, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.